Waterfall, the CCW podcast.
Hello everybody, welcome to Waterfall, CCW's water saving podcast. Who is CCW? We are the Consumer Council for Water, here to represent the views of everybody in England and Wales who uses water, everybody. And what is Waterfall? It is a podcast packed full of water saving tips. As you can tell, Mike's not here. I'm here instead, Cath. And with me today is Karen.
Hello, Cath.
Hi, Karen. I'm trying really hard to be more professional this time than I was on our last introduction, where I made myself cringe by giggling non-stop. See, it's gone, no giggling today. And producer Tom.
Hello. Very good to be here with both of you. And we're missing Mike a little bit, just a little bit. I wouldn't say it's, you know.
No offence, Tom, but I did hear you say on a previous episode, Cath's great, but just noted.
Oh, no.
Don't expect it.
It's going to be a dramatic one today.
It's all right, I'm not offended, I'm not sad or anything. Now, I know Mike likes to start with a news item, doesn't he? And I think, Tom, you have got some very exciting news.
Well, we are in the news, Cath. We didn't start Waterfall to be famous, to get awards and plaudits, but they have just naturally rolled in, basically. And, you know, we have been nominated, and, you know, we are overjoyed, really, because the Water Industry Awards, it's next week, so we're recording this a week before. This is a summit of the most excellent people in the sector, and we were nominated in the Water Efficiency Project of the Year category.
Oh my goodness.
So we're all getting suited and booted and going down there next week. But yeah, I just wanted to, obviously Waterfall is what's been nominated, but Southwest Water's Stop the Drop was also nominated there. So go back to past episodes. Thames Water doing a water neutrality pilot, which I'm sure you two may have maybe not heard. No, not heard of it. Okay, well, I'll cheer them on when they're nominated anyway. And Water's Worth Saving by Water UK are also on there amongst some others. So yeah, if people want to know what's going on in the sector, great stuff going on in the sector, head over to the Water Industry Awards page. And if you listen to this anytime past next week, then you'll know from Mike's tone of whether we win or lose, essentially. In the next 6 episodes that follow, he'll be absolutely bummed.
Are we saying this might be the end of Waterfall?
Possibly. But no, really looking forward to getting down there. And hopefully, maybe some people listening might be down there as well. So if you see any of us, any of the Waterfall crew, head down, say hello, and
Come say hi.
say the word mulch and we'll all laugh. You know. More on that later.
More to come, yeah. Well, that is super exciting. And can people vote, or is it?
It's already done. Yeah, it's not. It's not like the Brit Awards. No, it's unfortunately not.
Oh, well. Well, I shall keep my feet. Although it sounds like there are plenty of worthy nominees.
Oh yes. Oh, it really is. Yeah. No, it's been fascinating for me to go through and to see a lot of the innovative stuff that's going on in the sector. You know, it really is quite remarkable.
So we've got a really exciting episode today, haven't we, Cath?
We have. It's really the reason why Mike's not here, isn't it? Is that perhaps you and I are marginally more interested in this week's subject, which is gardening. Hooray! We're out in the garden. It's the annual gardening episode, and I think it's the whole country's experience. We've had some really scorching hot weather. It was last week as we're recording, so I guess 2 weeks ago when this goes out, and then
followed by thunderstorms and downpours. We've had every combination of weather conditions, it seems, in the last few weeks, which has made gardening quite challenging.
It has. It's too dry. It's too wet. It's times like this, Karen, when you could really do with an expert to give you some advice.
But just before we jump to that expert, I just want to say, if you have any questions or comments or future commiserations or congratulations, depending on what happens in the award ceremony. We don't know yet. podcast@ccwater.org.uk. Please get in touch with us there. We love hearing from listeners, and we madly do have people who do listen and do get in touch and do seem to benefit from our tips, and that is wonderful, and we love hearing from you. And also you can find us on various social media platforms. We're on Instagram, Waterfall_podcast is on Instagram, and it's Waterfall_pod on Twitter. Mike is so cruel for making those different.
I know, yeah. Why did
I
he
can't
do
imagine
that?
there's many Waterfall podcasts out there, but it's what are you going to do? But we're on there.
Press enter to see.
And we put some funny stuff on there. So last week we put Mike was on Radio 4 just last week, and it was Angry Mike. It was a slightly different Mike. So if you want to hear less comedic keel, more professional, then head over to there on Instagram and fill your boots.
Give him a listen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you for that, Tom. Do indeed get in touch with questions, future
Anything.
episode ideas.
Yeah. If you want to come on, I mean, you sort of have to be in the industry, but yeah, you have to have a story to tell.
Open invitation.
Yeah.
There we go. Let's move away from this subject quickly, and as Mike would say,
Bring on the guests!
Enjoying the show? Please consider leaving a 5-star rating on iTunes and Spotify.
So we are joined today by Dr. Mark Gush, who is here from the Royal Horticultural Society, the RHS. Mark, you're the head of Environmental Horticultural Science and Collections.
That's right, yes. The RHS, quite surprisingly, has a large science team of over 100 staff, and I lead one of the teams within that division called Environmental Horticulture. So I'm based at Wisley, at the amazing Wisley Gardens in Surrey.
Mark, I wonder if we could start off by hearing a little bit about what the Royal Horticultural Society, RHS, actually does. What its mission is.
Well, thanks. Yes, thanks for that opportunity. The RHS is all about assisting gardeners to practice and improve the science, art, and practice of horticulture. It's those three things. So it's really encouraging them with the necessary guidance and information to garden as effectively and efficiently as possible, to be creative, to really enjoy their gardening and take lots of pleasure and lots of benefit from it, and giving them as much guidance as possible through their website, through their community gardening programs, through outreach, through the education offerings and the science offerings to give them the information that they can grow their own, produce the flowers that they need, and everything that they would seek to do in their gardens.
No, that really sounds really interesting, and just what every gardener's looking for in terms of that support and help. We'll obviously do a link from the show notes to the RHS website. Is there any other information that's available that you would suggest people might want to take a look at?
Well, I'd really strongly advise gardeners to look at a particular website called Mains to Rains. So that's Mains, and then the number 2 in the middle, Rains. www.mainstorains.uk, because on that website we have a series of 10 pledges that gardeners can make to use water more efficiently and to save water in their gardens. And they're really great garden water management tips on that website. And you can make your pledges, simple things like putting in a water butt or including compost into your soil or putting down mulch, really great things. And there's a quantity of water that's associated with each of those pledges that it's made. So a quantity of mains water that is saved by implementing those pledges. So we've got a running total of how much difference that website is making, and just really encourage your listeners to have a look and make their pledges on that website.
Brilliant. Well, we'll definitely do
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. What a fantastic idea, and how great that you can see how much of the drinking water, the mains water it is that you're actually saving by doing those things. I think we often say, don't we, on Waterfall, that actions to save water shouldn't be things that are, change your life completely, that are a pain in the neck to keep up, but it is simple things that you can do quite easily. As you know, Waterfall is all about water-saving podcast, and whilst Mike might laugh at Karen's enjoyment of mulching, I think both Karen and I very much enjoy gardening. So we're thrilled to have you here, and we're hoping that today we can get some tips about how the RHS is adapting to things like climate change in your gardens, how you keep them looking so fantastic, whilst being water aware, saving water, and what we can do at home in our gardens as well, really, so what can we adapt and adopt from your knowledge to help ourselves at home. So climate change is clearly having an impact. What are the changes that the RHS has seen, and how are you responding?
Well, it's really useful that the RHS has had a long-standing weather station at its hilltop site in Wisley. It's been going since 1904, and it's an official Met Office weather station. And the other day I was just looking at the data from that weather station, plotting mean annual temperatures year by year, and it was really striking. First of all, I plotted actually the mean annual rainfall for each year since 1904, and there was very little change in terms of the trend overall. Quite a lot of variability, but not particularly noticeable trends. But when I plotted the mean annual temperature, there was a distinct increase since about the 1960s up to present day, and temperatures have clearly gone up by at least at 1.5 degrees Celsius at Wisley. Generally, that's in line with what the Met Office has predicted, the changes that will be occurring in the climate for the UK, with hotter and drier summers and milder and wetter winters. And we're seeing also a shift of rainfall away from the summer months, more towards the shoulder months around the winter period. So that trend appears to be kind of increasingly showing itself, as well as extreme events and more intense rainfall events, droughts, heat waves. Those are all kind of some of the things that we're seeing more frequently now, with some changes in the climate that we're experiencing.
And that causes us, I think, some real problems in the garden, doesn't it? It's really interesting that you say actually the rainfall across the year is the same, but as you say, it's that where it's happening. Certainly last year, I noticed, I think we probably all did, our grass becoming straw, really, although the dandelions seemed to survive, and various other plants around the garden really dry, because it was just so dry for so long and so hot, and then torrential rain across some months of it. The earlier part of this year has been a deluge. Are there some plants that do better under these conditions?
Well, I always say it's important to consider right plant, right place. So, yes, you may have. It depends sort of on the microclimate and the situation in the garden itself. There may be lower lying areas of gardens that are more prone to flooding, to inundation, and plants that are tolerant of waterlogged conditions are much more comfortable in those areas. But of course, with the changing climate and increasingly dry periods and heat waves and droughts, other plants are better adapted to those sort of conditions. So I think it's important to assess the conditions under which you're wanting to grow your plants. But as as a rule of thumb, there are a few examples of drought or heat-tolerant plants that the RHS would recommend, particularly euphorbia species, so Euphorbia coriaceus, Ozothamnus, Achilleas are good for hot, dry conditions. Sedums are also well known to adapt to those conditions really well. And on the other hand, the more sort of thirsty and less drought resilient plants are species such as hydrangeas and camellias and rhododendrons. They tend to favor kind of wetter, cooler conditions, and there have been certainly instances more recently where those have been taking strain under these dry, warm conditions.
So is there anything that the RHS is doing differently in your own gardens to adapt to those changing climate features that you've been describing?
All sorts of things, yes. The RHS is taking this really seriously. So firstly, I think there's been an increasing acknowledgement and recognition that water is such a key commodity, obviously for horticulture. It just can't be taken for granted. So this has really resulted in a much greater emphasis on water within the RHS. That was sort of evident when the RHS published its sustainability strategy in September 2021. And there's a section in there on water and the importance of just managing water in the right way. There's also been development of water plans for the RHS gardens and a commitment to releasing more resources for water-related research. So that's encouraging. And also for training and implementation within the gardens themselves by the horticultural staff and others working in the garden. So those are perhaps some of the more strategic approaches to how the RHS is responding to that.
Does that include using the water that falls onto the RHS properties to best effect?
Yes, absolutely. So I think in terms of actual implementation of these measures, you can really, it's a combination of infrastructural and engineering changes and also changes in gardening practices within the RHS gardens. So in terms of water efficient gardening activities that have been implemented, these include prioritizing irrigation in the cool of the morning, when evaporation rates are lower and less of the water just disappears into the air and blows away. Certainly changes in management of the grassed or lawned areas across the UK, RHS gardens. So less mowing, allowing lawns to grow longer, allowing greater areas to transform themselves into wildflower or wild grass meadows during the summer. And that has an interesting effect. Obviously, it's really great for biodiversity. You get lots of pollinators being supported by that, lots of habitats for insects to breed and to promote biodiversity. But it also, in terms of the structure of that those grassland areas, by allowing the vegetation to grow taller, it compensates with a deeper root system to balance the above ground foliage. So the more leaf area there is above ground, the more root biomass there is below ground. And that means the roots penetrate deeper into the soil because there's a greater root shoot ratio increases. And those deeper roots have access to deeper soil water reserves. So during periods of drought or heat waves, they actually are able to tap into water that conventional kind of low cut lawns would not have access to, and that improves their resilience during dry periods. So I think it's made a significant difference there.
Does that last? Like, do those so if I let my lawn get a little long for a month or so, and then cut it, does it retain those deeper roots for a couple of months maybe?
It does, absolutely. And that's a very good question, because I think common practice, particularly when you're establishing a new area of lawn, is prepare the soil, seed the lawn, allow it to just kind of get going, and then give it a good mow and get everything sort of consistent and low cut. But that's I'd say that's counterproductive to increasing the resilience of your lawn. If you're establishing a new area of lawn, best to really let it get quite long first of all, and let it balance the longer lawn above ground with deeper roots, and then cut it only once that's happened. And those deeper roots will be retained, but you'll be able to sort of keep the lawn at whatever height you choose to have it.
I can't tell you, this is music to my ears because I get the mickey taken out of me, Mark, because I do no mow May, but I've extended it this year into just leave it June. Which I have to give a shout out to Jane Wilson, who suggested this from Natural England. But, it's been amazing to see what actually grows in what was grass. I've got some really exotic looking things coming through. And the icing on the cake was last weekend I had my first hedgehog visit. I mean, they could have heard the shrills of excitement roads away.
What's that woman doing in this garden? turn around. That's so exciting.
Yeah, it is, and it just goes to show, the things that are actually going to save you some time and effort actually bring all kinds of wonderful benefits, so that's great to hear.
I like it. Just leave it, June. Yes, I was going to say no, mow, may, and more, because exactly right. No, mow, may is great, but there are a lot of insect species that are just getting accustomed to those extra habitats and perhaps, laying eggs or breeding. And then, if the lawn is cut at that stage at the end of May, I think, you can have unintended detrimental consequences on that biodiversity. So absolutely leaving it longer is a great strategy. And if you sort of slightly concerned about perhaps neighbors or passers-by thinking the lawn is unkempt, it's really helpful, I found, to just mow a strip around the edge of that area of lawn. So just a border you can mow, which differentiates, the edge of the kind of the longer part and the more manicured part, and just sends the message that this is intentional.
I love that idea. Yeah, mow around the edge of it. See, it's not that I'm not doing it. It's like I'm purposely leaving this part. And maybe that would encourage neighbours to be doing the same as well.
Well, I've seen exactly that. My neighbour where I live has implemented wildflower and wildgrass meadow this year for the first time. After I'm not sure if it's just my influence, but I have been applying it to my own lawn for a number of years. So it's really encouraging to see now perhaps that's spreading.
Be sure to head back through the archives and check out all the past episodes of Waterfall.
I mean, there does appear to have been a sort of growing kind of trend towards sort of more naturalistic gardens, allowing wildflower meadows and things like that, if you've got the space to obviously have those. I mean, is that something that I watch the television coverage of Chelsea and things like that, and it's interesting to see how some of these trends pick up and get more sort of galvanised as such, because I think RHS do a lot of rewilding as well, don't you?
Well, yes, we have a slightly different term for it. We refer to encouraging wildlife in gardens, not using the term rewilding specifically, just because there are various connotations to that and whether you can or can't actually rewild. But certainly promoting biodiversity in gardens and encouraging wildlife into gardens is very, very much a key priority of the RHS, particularly, as you can imagine, for our team, Environmental Horticulture. It's all around promoting as much biodiversity and as much environmentally considerate gardening practices as possible. And that has a whole lot of benefits in terms of pollination of flowers and fruit and just general ecosystem health, really, and that's good for the planet, and it's good for people as well.
So is the advice there to just leave it alone to do what it does naturally, so to speak?
Yes, I suppose it can be really a creative process. You can assess what comes up in your wildflower lawn or wildgrass lawn, and sometimes something can dominate. I mean, it can just be a mass of dandelions, which then you may want to just thin out a few of them just to allow space for perhaps other things to come in. Because what I've found, certainly much to my surprise as well, is that there is a dormant seed bank in the lawn that I wasn't aware of, and only when I allowed it to just grow and see what was there and what came up, I was staggered by the variety of different plant species that did come up, grasses and little flowers and things. So you have to sort of give it a chance, assess it. If there are things like ragwort that can potentially be maybe a bit toxic, then they may need a bit of thinning or a slight sort of bit of selective weeding in places. But by and large, whatever comes up, if it's got flowers and it's got seed heads, it's going to be good for biodiversity and also generally just healthy for your garden.
We've got the brilliant news from you, Mark, that we don't need to mow our lawns, and top tip, I think, on that, if you're laying new turf, not to cut it instantly. Let it establish, let it get there. Are there other tips that we could adapt from from your gardens to use at home around, I don't know, watering? You've said water in the morning.
Watering in the morning is really a good idea because there's less evaporation, there's less heat in the cool of the morning, and it also supplies the water that the plants will need through the course of the day, particularly on a warm day like we've been having over the last couple of weeks. Yeah. Whereas if you water in the evening, that's also when slugs and snails are more active. So basically, and they really are keen on moving around on damp surfaces. So you almost encourage them in a sense because you're providing these nice moist surfaces for them to move around on. And there's no particular benefit in watering in the evening because when the sun goes down, the stomata close on the plants are not transpiring, which is when they take up water through the roots and pass it out of the leaves. So the water basically needs to sit in the soil until the next day when it will be used by the plants. So I know it doesn't suit everyone's routine to do the watering in the morning. Sometimes the evening is just easier and it's pleasant to be out. But where possible, I think watering in the morning does make sense from various perspectives. And of course, the other very widely practiced technique in the RHS gardens is extensive use of mulches. If you visit any of the RHS gardens, you will see mulch being used in large quantities around flower beds, around the base of trees, and it is an amazing product really because it does so many things. It acts as a blanket to the soil, so it'll immediately limit the amount of water that's evaporating from the soil surface, and there is a surprising amount of water that just evaporates off the soil surface because it comes up by capillary action to drier parts of the soil and then goes into the atmosphere. So it is a constant loss of water from the soil if it's not covered. And mulch acts as a blanket, covers that, reduces that evaporation. It also regulates the temperature in the soil because of its kind of insulating properties. So during the colder winter months, it'll act as a blanket, keeping the soil warmer for longer. And during the hot summer months, it'll act as kind of a radiation shield and keep the soil cooler for longer. So your soil is more regulated in terms of its temperature, which is really good for plants. Plants really appreciate that. They don't like the roots to get into soil temperatures that are too extreme.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's also breaking down over time, so providing a steady stream of nutrients into the soil, so improving the health of the soil from a nutrient supply. And also with the more intense rainfall events that we're seeing, where the rain's falling kind of in a shorter period of time and more intensely, mulch breaks the energy of falling rain very effectively, so that you get less splatter of the soil surface, less damage to the soil surface. It effectively protects the soil and allows that rainfall then to infiltrate in a more controlled and beneficial way into the soil below. So many things, so many good things that mulch does. I'm really a big fan of mulch.
Oh, me too.
Mike has been laughing at Karen's mulching for some months now, so we've got an expert now, Karen.
I feel completely vindicated.
Absolutely, it's all the rebuttal we ever needed. And now, Mike, I've got to ask, because one of our previous guests mentioned a water-saving tip they'd heard from the RHS, that was to not use a rose on your watering can. So I know when I've been potting up things, I keep on putting water-retaining granules into them and such, but I always thought that having a rose on my watering can was probably a good thing. But she said somebody at the RHS had told her, don't do that, take the rose off, get the water to where it's meant to go. Is that true?
Well, I guess it depends on your watering technique. Firstly, yes, using a watering can, great, way better than using a hose pipe in terms of efficiencies of water use. So that's already a positive there. And there's no point, of course, in irrigating the foliage of a plant. That water will just basically evaporate into the atmosphere and will be lost. So as you've already mentioned, it's important to get the water to where it's intended to go, which is into the soil and down into the root ball as accurately as possible. And I suppose there's just perhaps less precision when you have a rose on your watering can, because the water is broadcast in a wider area. So that, I mean, if you just supplying perhaps a bit of water to a tree, and it doesn't really matter if the water is in a roughly correct area, the base of the tree, that's fine. But if you're watering small, quite delicate plants, even particularly plants in pots, it may be beneficial to take the rows off the watering can and just have the spout where you can direct the water more accurately at the base of the plant and get it down into the soil and into the roots more effectively.
Fab, you've cleared that up for me. Then it is true then. I need to take the rows off. I found that really, really interesting. Thank you so much, Mark. I think we have, don't we have final?
Yes, I mean, we tend to like to ask our guests about their own personal water use and how familiar they are with how much they use on a daily basis. We wondered whether, you knew how much water you use.
I do indeed. You've probably picked up from my accent. I am originally from South Africa, and you may be aware of what they call the Day Zero crisis experienced in Cape Town. So I lived through Day Zero. I was in Cape Town at the time, and there were severe water restrictions, and we were really encouraged to use the minimal amounts of water in our home. So I got into the routine of monitoring our water use, and those old habits die harder. I still do it. So I've got a water meter, obviously, at our home here in the UK, and I've been monitoring our household water use for a number of years now. And we are a family of 4, and we use on average 55 litres per person per day. So that's really, I think, just kind of our going rate. In South Africa during Day Zero, we were literally forced to reduce that to 25 litres per person per day, and we managed with some effort to do that. But yeah, in the UK, we're on average 55 litres per person per day, with I think the UK average being around 145 litres per person per day or so.
That's right, yes, with an aim for us to get that down.
Yeah, that's really that's really going to put you at close to the top of our leaderboard.
Very impressive.
Yeah, but I mean, from the way you talk about it, you don't obviously feel like you're depriving yourself of use of water as such.
No, not at all. That is just comfortably achievable with our regular household routine. And I have a teenage daughter as well, so it's readily achievable. Various other things that have helped. I've obviously, very importantly, got a water butt. So I collect rainfall at every opportunity and use that for outdoor watering. But just general kind of water efficiency measures, both inside and outside the home. I've obviously focused on external water use and gardening water use, but of course equally important household water use and habits around that make a huge difference.
Well done, Mark. I think that's, as Karen says, you're very close to the top of our leaderboard there.
Okay.
25 smashes it.
Yeah, having managed on 25, yeah, that makes you the winner.
No, we've really appreciated you coming on and talking to us about some of the challenges that I think people at home who are trying to maintain a garden, recognising that they have a challenge to keep everything looking nice, or as nice as they perhaps used to think they needed to have things looking, because they've got to adapt as well as everybody else to these very changeable conditions. So it's been really fascinating to hear about some of the things that your organisation is doing, and I certainly feel that we've benefited from hearing some of your advice and some of the things that we can easily adapt at home. So no, it's been really helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely, I will be leaving my grass to grow even longer, but with a board around the edge so that people do know it is meant to be like that. And I won't worry about why the rhododendron looks half dead anymore. It's not me, it's the weather.
That's great. And I think, as you pointed out, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and perhaps perceptions of beauty are changing. And my own perception of beauty is, I think, more drawn to an area of lawn, for example, that's got a lot of changes in color and texture and movement. And yes, I've also got areas of lawn that are closely cropped and mown, that just to sit on or to appreciate, just walking on. But this variation and diversity, I think, in management approaches to lawns and to water is really key. So, yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
This podcast is brought to you by CCW, the voice for water consumers.
Well, how good was that, Cath?
I found that incredibly satisfying, Karen, on a number of levels. It was informative. I'm thrilled to be able to let my grass grow longer with now endorsement, I feel, from the RHS. And I believe there was a moment where mulching was mentioned as a top tip.
I know, well, as I say, I feel completely vindicated now. All the grief I've had to put up with over the months since I last mentioned it, it just goes to show that just simple steps, simple measures can make all the difference.
Absolutely. And I think the Mains to Rains website make those pledges, genuinely being able to see how much mains water you are not using as a result of things like mulching and letting your grass get a bit longer and encouraging wildlife. It's just that additional incentive to us all to be able to make a simple change.
Yeah, and I mean, just to conclude then, again, get in touch with us, please. We're not asking for guests. Let me just clarify that right now. We're not, because I fear hundreds of people are going to email in now. They want to meet Mike and Karen. It's going to be a whole thing. So it's podcast at ccwater.org.uk, little rusty there. And we're on Instagram on waterfall_podcast, and then Twitter, waterfall_pod. And as I said at the start of the episode, I do want to push people towards those because we are putting some sort of extra Waterfall stuff on there if you're a diehard fan, like I'm sure you are.
Fantastic. Who isn't? Well, it's been a pleasure to be with you both. I think you've got Mike back in the seat next week.
We do.
So don't say it like that, Tom.
We do.
So thank you for having me, as always.
Thank you, Cath.
And I'm sure I'll see you both soon.
Okay, thank you, Cath. Thank you, Karen, as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. See you again soon.